Good morning. It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFSArmy. We got another preseason podcast here on Monday, the 23rd, where we got the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the New Orleans Saints. It's the last preseason game for week 2, and then we got one more week left, and it's regular season. If you want to jump in and check out our cheat sheets, head on over to DFSArmy. Use promo code CashCake. Save yourself 10%. It's very important to get in there for late breaking news. Yesterday was very important when we had a lot of those guys in the 49ers sit out. And you know, it was basically get on Hastings, get on Goldman. Just very important to get in there and get that news. And we had a lot of winners again last night. We've pumped out 2 5-figure wins, both on Draftkings and Fanduel this preseason. So we hope to keep the momentum going and have a few more winners from our subs. So again, if you want to head over and check that out, head on over and sign up. Use that promo code CashKeg. Let's just dive right into this. We'll just go talk a little bit about what happened last week and how I see this week shaping out. And again, we'll do notes on this as well and have projections up in our domination station, which is our optimizer as well. So you can build 150 lineups if you want and go in there and cut it out. But with that, let's just head on over and check it out. All right, we're going to start with DraftKings first. I'll go through both of them. Really, it's basically the same, except there's no defenses for FanDuel, but we'll go through both of them. And again, we'll just talk team by team here. If we're going to talk about, you know, setting this up in cash games first before I go team by team, just play both defenses. I mean, if you're playing a showdown slate and you're playing, you know, a cash game setting, you know, even in tournaments, I would recommend playing at least one defense. It's just, there's so many turnovers. You know, we saw Gardner Minshew throw an interception last week. I think the Saints had you know, quite a few turnovers last week as well. So I think you can play either one of them up there at the top at defense. I'll have a little bit better feel of it when we get next week. But I'm going to go ahead and put the Jaguars up at top. You know, anytime we got Jameis Winston, you know, Peyton did say that he was going to start this week. I'm sure we'll see a lot of Winston and Hill competing for that number 1 spot. But we're going to throw the Jaguars up here. Then I'm going to throw in the Saints defense. Again, you want to play at least one of them. I'll have a better feel of it if which one that I want up at captain, but I'm going to put these and kind of figure out these last spots here as we talk through things. So on the Jacksonville side, last week, they got 4 quarterbacks here. So, you know, Trevor Lawrence, of course, we know the number one overall pick, didn't play a ton, only played about 15 snaps here. Just had that one drive, pretty decent. You know, I know that we have Urban Meyer saying, you know, he doesn't know who's going to be his starting quarterback. Get out of here. You know it's going to be Lawrence. Minshew looked bad, threw an interception last week. You know, he didn't play very many snaps. CJ Beathard came in and played the most snaps out of the bunch, and then Jake Luton came in. So they got 4 quarterbacks. It's really hard, you know, to play any one of them here. I would assume Trevor Lawrence gets a little bit more time playing, so I don't mind. You know, it's real rough. Usually I want to play running backs and quarterbacks when it comes to these preseason games. Until I get a little bit more clarity where we're going here, it's really hard to take a shot on these guys. If we see that Trevor Lawrence is going to get, you know, a whole half, of course, I want all the Trevor Lawrence. It's all about playing time and where you're going to get it. So as of right now, I really don't know where we're going to go here. Like I said, CJ Beathard got the most snaps, but they were, you know, pretty spread out over all 4 of them, which is not what you want when you're playing here. So the running back situation, again, it's kind of one of those things where they played 6 running backs last week. You know, James Robinson, Etienne, Hyde, Dare. It's kind of a mess here all around, you know. And nobody got over, you know, I think Dare got a little over 20 snaps, but everyone was around that point. So it's really hard to figure out exactly where to go here. It's complete opposite of yesterday when we played that San Francisco 49ers and Chargers, where they basically had the 49ers had 2 running backs and the Chargers had 3 running backs. So it was very easy to say, okay, these are the guys that to hone in on. So I just haven't seen anything out there as of really early this morning of, you know, who's going to get more work or whatnot. I don't think they're going to show everything with ETN and how they're going to use them. If they're going to use them maybe out of the slot sometimes, whether they're going to use them out of the backfield to get them in space. I don't think that Urban Myers is going to tip his hand too much, but he only got 13 snaps last week, and it's just not very much. If he gets a little bit more, you can have some interest in him. Carlos Hyde is old. He's, basically that third running back on the depth chart, so don't have a whole lot of interest in him. So I guess if you're going to look at things, it would be down here to Dare, would be the one guy that I would look at. And I'll throw him in this lineup, but I'm not super confident in this until we get some more news. Because again, you run 6 running backs out there, it's pretty tough. So we're all looking for volume here, and if we get something from Urban Myers that says, hey, we're going to run, our ones out there a half or something, well, then I have a little more interest in some of these guys. But as of right now, I don't have anything. On the wide receiver side, we're not going to see any DJ Shark. He's not going to play in the preseason at all. I don't think we'll see a lot of Jones Jr. or Chenault. They'll probably see them as long as Trevor Lawrence is out there. I know Minshew played with the ones a little bit, but I don't think we're going to see a ton of these guys. They saw very limited snaps. No reason to get those guys hurt. It's basically going to be Shark, Chenault, and Jones as their 3 wide receiver sets. Dorsett is hurt, so we're not going to see him play any at all. We could see some Agnew playing. Colin Johnson played the most snaps out of the wide receivers, followed by Latron Treadwell. Feels like Treadwell's been in the league forever. But, I think down here is where you're kind of looking at, and then Hammond. Hammond led the team in targets last week with 7 of them. And again, he's at the very bottom of the depth chart. And again, that's, where you're looking at these guys trying to make a roster spot. So, Jeff Cotton, Trevor Austin, Farrah Cooper's another guy that's been around for a little while. But Josh Hammond, is a guy that you can look at the very end. And just in tournaments, again, I wouldn't play these guys in cash games. But anytime in preseason, you can get any kind of guy that's going to get, anything over 4 or 5 targets is going to be a guy you want to target. So Hammond in tournaments is a guy I would look at. But again, it's really tough until we get a little bit more information. We'll have all these things up in the cheat sheet once we knock it out, today. Tight end situation, very similar to the running back situation. It's just all these guys got, run. They all got, seems between 10 and 15 snaps. So it's like, I don't want any of these. I don't like targeting tight ends in general and showdowns. So I don't want any part of this. Just no. I'm just gonna say no. And then kickers. If you want to do a kicker, there's only Josh Lambo on the squad here, so I have no problem playing a kicker at all. Especially when there's one. Just dive right in there in a kicker. If there's 2 of them, that's when you kind of stay away. And there's going to be just one kicker on the Saints as well that we can look at. So let's dive over on the Saints side. Again, like I said, it's going to be Jameis Winston's going to get the start here. And, if we hear that he's going to see, a good amount, then I'd have some interest in him. If we're going to see a half at him, I don't know what Peyton's going to do right now. Taysom Hill started last week. They both saw around 20 snaps, so it's not overly exciting. It's a very similar situation. Ian Book played the most snaps at the end of the game, but again, when we get towards the end of the game, a lot of the times they just run and they're not really, throwing the ball a ton. So I don't have a whole lot of interest in Ian Book either. It's just one of those weird showdown slates where it's kind of ugly, man. Like there's not like a quarterback that I just want to play. It's going to get a lot of time like we had on Saturday and we had yesterday. And until we get a little bit more news, Trevor Siemian didn't play at all in week 1. So if he is out, and doesn't play, or if he does play, that would muddle up the whole situation as well. And we have 2 teams with 4 quarterbacks, which doesn't really bode well for DFS purposes. But, I think there's still, if we have to pick one, I guess you would look at either Winston or Hill. But again, not super excited about either one of them. But Hill did outsnap Winston last week by 1 snap, starting. So maybe they'll let Jameis Winston go a little bit further here and see what he can do against Jacksonville. So it's just ugly. It's just ugly. So definitely one of those 2 guys if we're looking at quarterback situation. But until we get some clarity, I'm just going to kind of, wait and see kind of approach, because generally in cash games we'd be throwing both defenses in here. We throw us a couple running backs, a kicker, and a quarterback, but it's just really odd to have that many quarterbacks in play. Running back situation. Alvin Kamara did not play last week. He didn't practice on the 18th, but we could see him play a little bit here. I don't see why you would play Kamara. Murray and Freeman, they both saw, a few snaps here. Ty Montgomery, he's interesting. He saw, we saw this over when he was with the Green Bay Packers as well. He played some wide receiver in that preseason game, the first preseason game, and we could see something very similar here. But he's just one of those guys you can kind of plug in everywhere. And then we're looking at Washington. Didn't see a whole lot of snaps. Tony Jones Jr. saw the most snaps besides Ty Montgomery. Those are the two guys that saw a ton. But again, they're running 5 or 6 running backs out here. So both these teams just seem to have a plethora of people that they're throwing out there. I still would take the guys towards the end of the running backs are just going to, kind of get the tail end of the run. They're pretty valuable touches. So maybe we do look at a Tony Jones Jr. in tournaments. Maybe we do look at maybe we want to look at a Freeman, just a little below Lat Murray, number 3 in that depth chart, even though I think, he's going to stay there. Or Ty Montgomery, again, if we're going to get a guy that's going to get some snaps at wide receiver, you kind of have to like that as well. But it's another one of those situations. It's just, man, it's kind of rough. So it might be a thing where I run, 2 defenses, 2 kickers, and try to find me a quarterback and a running back that I want in cash games with just so many people here. So we might lean that. I'm gonna throw the other kicker in here when we get down there. Lutz is hurt. He's gonna be out a while, so they ended up signing Rojas here. So we're gonna put Aldrich in here. So I'm gonna go the double kicker in this build because it's just so weird to have all these guys playing so much time until we get something. We're not going to go on the wide receiver situation here with the Saints. Again, we're not going to see any Michael Thomas. I think he's going to have a real down year this year with this quarterback situation, and I don't know how long he'll be a Saint. The chef Traquan Smith. I don't think we're going to see him either. Marquez Callaway, they seem to float to him. That's one. If I was going to pick one wide receiver to play, they seem to hone in on him. He had a pretty good game last week. He's number 3 on the depth chart here. Saw 20 snaps. Kind of like him. Another guy we can look at playing is little Jordan Humphrey. I remember playing him. I think he was a Texas Longhorn back in college football. But he saw the most snaps out of the wide receivers and actually led all the wide receivers in targets, where he had 5. So he's the kind of guy that we can look at. So maybe on this side we have a little more clarity when it comes to the wide receiver situation, and there's a little less of them. Tommy Lee Lewis didn't practice a couple days ago, so I don't think he's going to play. They just signed Kevin White. Man, remember him as a Bear? Jeez, how he's fallen, earlier this week. So, he's a guy that, maybe at the very end of the game, or, I think they're just signed him because, they're just hurting here. So it's a situation where it's kind of weird. Out of all the skill position players, it looks like wide receivers the thinnest here. So Marquez Callaway, little Jordan Humphrey, Quan Baker saw a little over 20 snaps. I might look at, usually I don't want to go on these guys in cash games, but I might look for a guy like this in cash games. We don't want to go a little Jordan Humphrey or Callaway like this until if we're not going to get any information when it comes to quarterbacks. Because if we're going to run 4 quarterbacks for Jacksonville and 3 for the Saints, man, I don't know. In cash games, you probably want to play them, but in tournaments, I think I'm going to lean on this Saint side. And if I was going to set a rule or anything or play, I maybe want one of these Saint wide receivers in my tournament lineups, and definitely up in the captain. If you're making a tournament lineup, maybe I want to throw a Callaway or a little Jordan Humphreys, one of these guys up there that are, again, high risk plays, but if they catch 4 or 5 balls for a touchdown and 60 yards, they're going to be the nut captain. So something that we can kind of look at. But But Callaway, they did, watching last week, that's Winston was looking for him. Both of them were. And so he's the kind of guy that maybe he can get it going early. So maybe we want to throw him up at captain in tournaments, and I don't mind running both of them out there. But yeah, I think wide receiver seems to be on the Saints the thinnest position that we have. If you look at the tight end situation, very similar to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Troutman's, going to be number one on the depth chart. He only saw 16 snaps. All of them saw, when we got to Vanette, Griffin, Juwan Johnson, Troutman, all those guys kind of saw about the same amount of snaps. So not super excited about playing tight ends as it is, like I said. And it's just one of those things where I really wouldn't do it. If we get word or some news comes out earlier in the morning or an afternoon that, the starters or, this guy or that guy's going to play a significant run, of course that would change my mind. But nothing that I've read early, or I should say late Sunday night, early Monday morning. It's about 4:00 in the morning here on the Eastern, here in Indy. So from what I read, I didn't see anything, but that could change definitely. So yeah, I think I'm gonna focus right now. It's just the kickers, the defenses, and then that wide receiver pool for the Saints just looks a little thin. And then, like I said, Callaway and little Jordan Humphrey are the guys that I would kind of look at. And the running back situation is just a little wonky for me on both of them unless we get some news. But I said time up, could be the guy if we could see some time out of him and both catching the ball and running it. But really, really weird showdown slate. Over here on Fanduel, like I said, there's no defenses here, so you got to go somebody. And generally, we like to put a quarterback up here in our MVP slot. Like I said, it makes it difficult is how much time these guys are going to see. So we'll have to wait on Urban Meyer and Peyton to come out and say, this is what they're going to do. But generally, we want a quarterback up here. That's usually we want the guy that's going to, play the most time, because we're all looking for just volume in general. So I'm going to put Jameis Winston up here. And again, all this could change. I'm just saying if he's going to start, he's going to throw him, say he's going to play a half, then I'd want him out there. Whoever's going to play 2 quarters, the guy that I'm going to want up at captain. I'm sorry, at MVP when it comes to FanDuel. I don't mind this if everything's going to be spread out and we don't know, I have no problem running a kicker up at MVP once in a while. If we figure both these offenses are going to move the ball a little bit and stall, man, who cares? Throw a kicker out there. Weirder things have happened. If you kick 3 or 4 field goals and there's no touchdowns being scored, you'll definitely be unique. And in preseason, I think that happens more times than not because these are pretty low scoring games. If you look at all these over and unders are usually in the low 30s or the mid 30s. And, a lot of them have been going under because the offensive just look horrible and they just have a hard time moving the ball, which is understandable. So, again, like I said, you're probably putting one of the quarterbacks up here until we get news. I'm going to throw Winston up here. I want the kickers in here as well. So I think you can go, one of the kickers. I think you can even go both of the kickers since there's only one. And if we're not going to get that clarity, like I said, I have no problem running both of them out there. We think it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't like running, even one kicker out there, but everything's different. We kind of have to take what the slate gives us and, hopefully we get some better news because I would like to play and feel confident with, some of these plays. But I really don't right now. Like I said, they just played a little bit of everybody and it's rough, if I was going to play one guy at MVP, in tournaments, like I said, it'd probably still be Callaway or little Jordan Humphrey, Quan Baker, those guys, just because of how shallow that wide receiver core is going to be. Basically they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got about 6 or 7. So they still got a few people, but not a ton. And Kevin White's one of those 7 that they just signed. So they're still going to be a little thin, and those guys should see, 20 to 30 snaps a piece. So, those guys got upside if they can get in the box. And then again, the running backs, you know, maybe you want to throw a Ty Montgomery out there. Would be one guy that I would look at. I don't love it because, again, there's a ton of running backs on both sides. So, yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna live with something like this. I'm even fine on something like this in tournaments if you want to play with how shallow they are at wide receiver position. Maybe go a couple wide receivers in a situation like this in tournaments with how shallow they are. But pretty ugly showdown slate overall. I'm not super excited about playing it. It's just I love to have a little more clarity, and hopefully that we have that going on, because this is pretty ugly. So with that, I hope that quick rundown helped you out a little bit. Just kind of going through the snap counts and seeing where they're at. Just don't have a whole lot of clarity right now, and hopefully we do a little bit later. But if you like this video, hit that thumbs up for me, subscribe to the channel, and head on over to DFSArmy. Just click on the link below. Even if you want to join our Discord and chat with there, it's a free Discord to join. We can, chat a little bit about football. And if you want to see the cheat sheets and have access to the domination station, we don't farm out our optimizer. It is in-house. We control those things and projections and everything like that. So head on over there, sign up, use promo code CashGag. Hopefully help you win some money. And with that, let's enjoy some Monday Night Football. See you on the flip side. Deuces.